Thank you very much, Jackie, and good morning, everybody. It's a great pleasure to be here, and fantastic to see such a great turnout for what I think is a vital topic for all of us. I can't tell you about all the exotic places I've been posted to by way of introduction to myself, because I spent most of my working life in the UK public sector. So instead, I'll just say that I represent the Food and Drink Federation, the trade association for food and drink manufacturing in the UK, representing the biggest manufacturing sector in the UK, turning over around about £76 billion a year, employing around about 400,000 people. And I know that the Irish food manufacturing sector is equally important to the Irish economy. I thought I should take as my starting point the joint statement from the Prime Minister and the Taoiseach in March 2012. It's already been referred to this morning, and I'd just like to talk a little bit about the two themes that really come through from that extract. That's competitiveness and cooperation. And just a word about the bigger picture, the global context. David Box has already referred to this, but we all know about the challenges facing us. We've got a growing global population, growing pressure on precious finite natural resources, improved nutrition challenges as a result of demographic changes, possible consequences of climate change in all sorts of ways that we don't yet understand or can predict clearly. The challenge for the UK food system, as it is for the Irish food system, as it is for the global food system, is to produce more from less and with less environmental and social impact. And for consumers, it's to adopt more sustainable patterns of consumption, a challenge for all of us as individuals. If we're going to meet those challenges, we are going to need to innovate, and we're going to need research to help us, actually across loads of different disciplines, breaking down barriers, working together, looking at different ways of doing things. And that will be a fast-moving picture as we do look at those challenges, as we find new ways of working, as we break down barriers. We'll invent new ways of looking at the same old stories, and we'll invent new stories and new challenges. And as the pattern of climate change emerges, we will increasingly learn more and understand more about the challenges, but also have the capability to meet them in a new and different way. So the first of the challenges that the Prime Minister and the Taoiseach set us then to increase our competitiveness. As an industry in the UK, we are committed to boosting competitiveness and productivity. At the end of 2011, we signed a joint ambition with the government, with our departments of agriculture and business, to grow our sector by 20% by 2020. The three pillars of that growth strategy are exports, innovation and skills. I'm not going to talk about exports this morning. I think Jerry mentioned it earlier on. I mean, suffice to say, I think that the UK and Ireland are key trading partners in both directions. I don't know whether my Secretary of State will have something to say about shifting the balance slightly, because at the moment I think we are slightly net importers from Ireland, and he may have something to say about that. But suffice, as I say, to say that we are key trading partners and that each is critical to the other. I do want to talk about innovation and skills. Innovation is critical to growth. And at FDF, we've spent some time thinking with our key partners, with our IFR and some of the other research bodies in the UK, with our businesses, the companies that I represent, trying to understand what are the key drivers for innovation right across the food chain, and what are the issues we will need to tackle. Firstly, then, in primary production, as we think about how to meet the challenges of global food security, a central concern will be to find new and better ways of optimising resource use, particularly in relation to land, to water, to energy, and to agrochemical and other inputs. And of course, this needs to be done in the context of limiting adverse environmental impacts, whether it be greenhouse gas emissions, water pollution, degradation and erosion of soils, or biodiversity and habitat loss. So in the light of all of those complex issues, some of the key priority areas for research seem to us to be those on the screen. I'm not going to read them all out in the interest of time. You can see them there on the screen. But suffice to say that there are some really significant challenges for us, and that we need to be innovative and imaginative in the way that we address them. One of the ones I will come back to later on is the second bullet point there, improving understanding of comparative advantage. This is one of the areas, it seems to me, where the UK and Ireland can very much work together. We have the same natural advantages, comparative advantages, as we think about the contribution we can play to global food security. And there must be opportunities for us to work together to create synergies and to maximise those advantages. Clearly, water and nutrient management is critical, improving our soil capabilities, assessing and responding to emerging pest and disease threats. All of these challenges we will need to face in the future if we are to innovate and to maximise our yields from the land. Moving on to processing and packaging, the key sector that I represent, similar considerations apply. There's also an overarching need to improve raw material conversion, to provide benefits in addition to food and nutritional value. Another key consideration will be to improve shelf life and food safety, especially against a background of potentially diminished future energy and water security at both production and consumption levels. Some of the priority areas seem to us to be around improved thermal technologies to reduce energy use in food production and to reduce the associated greenhouse gas emissions, water efficiency, using robotics and automation and process technologies to streamline and to create efficiencies. Product design and innovation, whether it be to reformulate to make products healthier, whether it be to meet the new demand for nutraceuticals and designing nutrition in such a way as to maximise its impact for key populations. Or whether it be in packaging, improving the packaging to improve shelf life, to improve consumer confidence in handling food, or whether to preserve it more efficiently. And finally, recovering buy and co-products, making sure that nothing goes to waste, that we drive waste and inefficiency out of the system and use every single scrap of the resources that are created by food production. Finally, distribution and retailing and consumption. We need to improve efficiency and reduce waste, as I've already said, across supply chains. We need to rethink systems to deal with climate change challenges and other challenges to our infrastructure, notably in respect of energy and transport links. Improving consumer information in relation to health, diet and product storage will also be critical. We'll need to optimise logistics across our supply chains, integrate systems to improve the management of supply and demand, and look at new ways of communicating with consumers more effectively. The majority of food waste and some of the diet and health impacts that other speakers have talked about in developed economies relate to consumer behaviour. So there's also a social science aspect to this. We need to understand how to promote more sustainable and healthier patterns of food consumption. And this is a major challenge for our societies in developed countries. We can do this in part through product innovation, but we'll also need to understand better how consumer attitudes play a major role in determining outcomes. And we need to think about helping them to improve their understanding of what constitutes a healthier, sustainable diet, how to use food, how to store it. And we need to reconnect them with their food and where it comes from. So that we change the way they think about it, the way they value it, and the way they use it. I should mention briefly that as we strive for growth, it's not growth at any cost. We know we have to play our part in tackling key societal challenges such as obesity and the environmental impacts of what we do. Our commitment as FDF, as a group of food companies in the UK, to tackling public health goes back many years. We created a Food and Health Manifesto first in 2004, and since then we've successfully updated that and tried to work in partnership with government to tackle the challenge of obesity. And our strategy is built around 4 key pillars. Reformulation, whether it's taking out salt, saturated fat, creating healthier standard products, or whether it's creating variants that are healthier, that give consumers more choice to choose the products that are right for them and their families. Responsible communications, making sure we target those communications effectively to help people with the challenges of eating healthier diets and help them to understand their food through labelling and through information on and off pack. And finally, supporting our workforce, those 400,000 people I talked about and their families, and also the communities that we work and operate in, supporting them, helping them, working with them in their search and their hunger to lead healthier lives. We also recognised some time ago that we needed to address our environmental impacts, and in 2007 we created our 5-fold environmental ambition targeting our activities and what we could do to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions, to reduce our water use, to drive packaging and food waste out of our production and also help consumers to waste less food in the home, and tackling food miles. And I think the results have been impressive so far. You can see them up on the screen. I'm not going to read them out. But having looked at our own part of the chain and what we could do there, and I think, as I've said, produced some impressive results, we recognised we needed to go further and look along the chain and start to think about how we can work with our partners along the supply chain to drive waste out of the chain as a whole, not just shift impacts up and down the chain. So last year we published our Sustainable Sourcing Guide, helping companies to understand and work with their suppliers to create more sustainable supply chains. And we're working closely in partnership with our partners in the food chain, with other bodies, to try to tackle waste, to tackle environmental impacts from a whole chain perspective. The third pillar of our growth strategy is skills. I'm sure you're going to hear a lot more about skills in the course of the morning, but we need to make sure we attract, retain, motivate and grow the right skills for our industry. And we have some huge challenges. We have an ageing workforce in the UK. Almost half of our workforce is due to retire in the next 20 years. We need to fill over 170,000 jobs by 2020. And we have skills shortages in key technical disciplines. David's already talked a little bit about that this morning. Industry has to help itself. So the first thing we did was we thought about this at FDF was we created a careers campaign, Taste Success. We know that our industry has an image problem. It's not a destination of choice for school leavers. It's not the career that careers advisors, teachers in schools typically mention to their bright young pupils as they're going through the system. So we wanted to change that. Taste Success is designed to bust myths about the industry and use case studies of young people who have come into the industry to talk about it. There's nothing like young people who are in the industry to advocate the industry to other young people, and Taste Success is built around that model. And it's also designed to appeal to young people very directly through digital media. It's award-winning. Our two digital advertisements went, I think I'm allowed to say from the numbers, they went viral on YouTube, particularly Lily the Chili, Ashford there, the little baby there. If you haven't seen it, I do commend it to you on YouTube. I'm not going to play it now, but it's worth a look, I think. And the feedback we've had is that it very much does connect with young people and speak to them in a way they understand and relate to, and that was the aim of the campaign. Secondly, as you all know, in the food industry, we employ people at all levels, and apprenticeships are key to us. Starting from, it has to be said, a low base, we set ourselves the target to double the number of apprenticeships in the sector between August 2011 and December 2012. In fact, we quadrupled the number, going from 1,700 or so to over 7,500. And having done so much to bring new apprentices into the food industry, we're now looking at how we can create value from those apprenticeships. And we've put in a bid to one of the UK government funds that's available to support us in that work. Finally, on skills, we know we have challenges in key technical disciplines. There is currently no engineering degree course in the United Kingdom specifically for food and drink companies and for food and drink manufacturing. But from September next year, there will be, because we've partnered with Sheffield Hallam University and our National Skills Academy for Food and Drink to create one. Against a background of rising tuition fees, decreasing numbers of students coming into the system, and having the need to compete even harder for graduate talent, we thought we have to do something to make sure that we have a pipeline of skilled, employment-ready people coming into the industry. And from next year, the MEng at Sheffield Hallam University will create 40 such students. It's being supported fantastically by the industry through work placements, through guest lectures, in all sorts of ways, through the provision of equipment, through the provision of expertise, and through the tangible offer of jobs at the end of the course, which we think will make it distinctive, will make it an attractive course for young people as they look to find degree courses that will offer them a guaranteed and secure future. Building on that graduate excellence project, that degree course, we're hoping to create a centre of excellence built at Sheffield Hallam. And we've got a vision that we've submitted to government. We're looking for around £7 million of government funding to partner with £16 million in total from the industry to create a centre of excellence for food and drink manufacturing, which we hope will be fully operational by 2017. Just finally from me then, two thoughts about collaborative working and the role of government. The Foresight report on global food futures produced in the UK, chaired by John Beddington, made it clear that the challenge that I talked about earlier on and others have talked about of feeding a growing global population whilst reducing the environmental impacts of that production process will require global cooperation. And it also challenges us that the current governance system is not fit for purpose. And I think there's a real opportunity here for the UK and Ireland to work together to champion new forms of governance, to champion new ways of working that will help us to rise to that global challenge. I also talked earlier on about competitive advantage. Each country, each region will need to maximise its own production to play its part in global food security. And I think, again, there are opportunities here for us to collaborate together. We have the same natural advantages. We have the same challenges facing us, but as an area, we can work together to try and tackle those and to maximise the contribution we can together make to global food security. I also think, as others have mentioned, there are opportunities to work together in Europe. We don't always see things exactly the same way, but by and large, I think we see things in a similar way. We know there are challenges within Europe if Europe is to play its part in global food security, and I think there are opportunities there for us to work together, to collaborate, to champion change, to champion the need for smart regulation which will enable the food industry to maximise its productive potential, and also potentially to work together to access funding so that we can generate joint projects and joint research together. Finally, two thoughts to leave you with. Hopefully. If you want to be incrementally better, be competitive. If you want to be exponentially better, be cooperative. And if you'd like that in slightly plainer language, here's Benjamin Franklin for you. If we don't hang together, we will all hang separately. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much. Stay there. Thank you. A very fine quote there, something we'll come back to in the discussion. Melanie will be back later for the panel debate. Any burning questions for her now? Okay, just one very quick one from me, and we can build on this later, Melanie, but you talked about identifying comparative advantage. You came back with that, and you identified this as an area for collaboration. How do you go about doing that? Is it part of, I mean, earlier John Kennedy was talking about making innovation part of your DNA. Do you think looking for where you have the advantages is part of the DNA of the sector, or does it need to be more so in the future, on both sides?
I think there's always more you can do, and I think it works at a number of levels. So I think it works at the political level. Can we identify shared goals? Can we identify a shared vision? Do we have a shared analysis of what our comparative advantages are, what our priorities are? You can do it at the political level, you can do that at the research level, you can do that at the industry level. I think there are all sorts of different levels, and the key, I think, and one of the reasons I think events like this are so important, is that you need to join all of that up, because otherwise you find you've got different conversations going on in different areas, and great ideas, great innovative thinking, but unless you can pool it all and join it up and make sure that the political dimension talks to the industry dimension, talks to the research dimension, then I think you lose opportunities to maximise. The sum should be more than the whole should be more than the sum of the parts, and I think that's why we need events where we all come together from our different disciplines and different perspectives.
And hence the emphasis you as a federation place, as you said, on working along the value chain, along the food chain. All these things need to be joined up. We'll come back to that, I hope, in the panel discussion. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, will you join me in thanking Melanie very much?